I just don't see enough other things about his game to offset the inevitable physical decline the way you do with some other quarterbacks.
The physical decline thing is a good discussion because it's easy to, again, in a black and white world, to think, well, okay, if you lose arm, throw it earlier or whatever it is. But I think a lot of it truly is your confidence in your ability to throw the ball, your ability to throw the ball off platform. And I'm not saying Ryan's declining or anything like that, but he's been a tick slow in his decision making this year. Whether it's throwing the ball into coverage, he's taken as much as the O-line's been bad, he's taken sacks he shouldn't be taking. He took a bunch of fourth down sacks in games earlier this year. There's something in his decision making that's different, and I wonder if that coincides with a lack of confidence somewhere physically.
How's our financial plan coming?
Super! Chris, any advice?
With Western and Southern, preparing for your financial future can be easier than you think. Favorite receiver?
Huh?
To get started, visit westernsouthern.com.
Let's go to the rest of Sunday's action. The Tampa Bay Bucks 35, the Falcons 22. We thought that the Falcons had turned a corner. Was this full? There was a point in this game where Jameis had 8 completions for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Yeah.
It was great.
This was one of the most Jameis games ever. And yet somehow he was out-Jameised by Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So if you look in this game, Matt Ryan had 4 turnover-worthy plays and 4 big-time throws. Jameis only managed 3 of each.
I know, right?
So Matt Ryan actually out-Jameised Jameis.
Yeah, that's tough to do.
It really is. It really was peak Jameis, though. There were some ridiculous throws in here. And yet he just keeps swinging.
Yeah.
And eventually, it doesn't matter that he throws a couple of interceptions, a couple of terrible passes, gives the Falcons the ball a few times because he's going to go down swinging. And Chris Godwin bailed him out of a bunch of throws. Like the touchdown he threw where Jameis leaves it inside, back, into traffic. Godwin somehow managed just to one-hand bring it in whilst being drilled in the end zone. Turns what could have been, it was just an ugly throw.
He had the nice seam route to Godwin.
Into a touchdown. Sure. But he also, tried to get him killed a couple of times. Godwin had an incredible game and continues to be, one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL this year. And probably doesn't get enough talked about that. But yeah, it's insane to watch Jameis when he's playing this is cesium. This was cesium Jameis, where he's just going down high volatile left and right. It's either sublime or abysmal and very little in between. And this game was so chaotic because Matt Ryan was trying to do the same.
Yeah, that's not what you expect from Matt Ryan. It was kind of classic Jameis because of all that volatility. And it's kind of, I think part of the point that we've made with him is that while negatives might be more stable, just the aggressiveness to have the positives, the move the chains plays, that gives your team the opportunity, right, to score a ton of points. So that's what happened yesterday. The Falcons defense hadn't really turned a corner, I guess. They gave up 12 points over 2 weeks to the Saints and the Panthers, but this was not good.
No, we did at least suggest that was not exactly who they were. They got really badly dominated up front. Sue, Vita Vea, Shaquille Barrett all had monster games. That offensive line was a major problem for the Falcons again, which it's been for most of the season. And at that point, you've got some problems, right? That's going to put Matt Ryan under some pressure. That's going to cause a lot of those turnover-worthy plays. His passer rating under pressure was 22. So, yeah, that was a big part of it is the Bucs defense was able to cause a ton of problems for Matt Ryan in the offense. And the Falcons defense just wasn't able to actually contain some of the crazy plays that the Bucs were breaking out.
So with Matt Ryan, I know we like to, with the old quarterbacks, Brady, Breeze, Rivers, Peyton, when he was playing, as soon as they threw a bad pass, we wanted to draw the line in the sand, right? We talked about this the other day. That's it. It's over. Mm-hmm. Draw the line in the sand. Now, because Matt Ryan's not old yet, nobody's starting the narrative today that Matt Ryan's declining. But he is in his worst season per PFF grades. Worst season since 2009, his second year in the league. 74.2 overall grade as of now. Bunch of 3 games under 60, bunch of games under 70, a couple high-end games there. And as I mentioned earlier in the season, he's only left the friendly confines of a dome once. Is that concerning? Matt Ryan's regression here. I know he's battled injuries and all that stuff, and the O-line hasn't been great. But it's not like, usually you can mitigate the O-line when you have great weapons and guys that can get open quickly. And I think they have that. But maybe it's not meshing with Dirk Cutter and the system that likes to get the ball down the field a little bit more. Like, something's off this year, obviously.
I think that's part of it. They should have a better quick game than they have, given the people that the receivers that he has to throw to.
Right.
Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley in particular can get open in a hurry. They've got guys that should be able to get the ball to pretty quickly without exposing them to those kind of problems, and yet they don't run that much of that, which I think is a big part of the issues there. Obviously, the offensive line we talked about is still a problem. They're going to get in trouble when they have to hold the ball for a period. And Matt Ryan feels like one of those quarterbacks where when the physical decline does begin, it's going to hit him harder than most people.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he was ever particularly physically dominant, but I just don't see enough other things about his game to offset the inevitable physical decline the way you do with some other quarterbacks.
The physical decline thing is a good discussion because it's easy to, again, in a black and white world, to think, well, okay, if you lose arm, throw it earlier or whatever it is. But I think a lot of it truly is your confidence in your ability to throw the ball, your ability to throw the ball off platform. And I'm not saying Ryan's declining or anything like that, but he's been a tick slow in his decision making this year. Whether it's throwing the ball into coverage, he's taken as much as the O-line's been bad, he's taken sacks he shouldn't be taking. He took a bunch of 4th down sacks in games earlier this year. There's something in his decision making that's different, and I wonder if that coincides with a lack of confidence somewhere physically.
I think one of the great things that extends players' careers when they do start to decline, however it manifests itself, is the ability for that player to recognize what's happening and know how to change their game to keep going.
Yeah.
So with Manning, we saw it in real time where he worked out that he could no longer had the arm to throw those seam passes that he made a career out of in Indianapolis. He realized that in the course of a couple of weeks when he went to Denver, completely changed his game and extended his career by another couple of years. Not just extended it, but played arguably the best couple of seasons of his career at the end before his physical tools completely fell off the cliff and he just walked away at the end. Brady, I think, has changed his career as well has changed his playing style as he's gone on. There are certain players that understand what's happening to them and can change what's happening or can change their game to minimize the effect that it has. Matt Ryan doesn't strike me as a player that's going to be particularly good at that because I don't know that he's ever had a particularly tight grasp over exactly what he's doing from a physical standpoint anyway. Like he's able to play the game at an extremely high level, but it's maximum runtime, right? Everything about him is dedicated to just getting the ball where he needs to get it, and sometimes there are plays all throughout his career where it's that's a mistake you probably shouldn't be making.
He is really good in the timing and rhythm passing game. So The point is if that timing is off a touch, if he does lose a little bit of that zip, does that change things? Because the timing post, the deep out, and all that, he does that. He does some difficult things and he's made him look easy throughout his career.
So I think that's a good way of describing it, right? Is that he is at his best in a offense that has timing and rhythm, and anything that disrupts that causes Matt Ryan to go downhill rapidly. Now that can be a bunch of things, right? It can be the offensive scheme now asking for longer developing stuff. It can be the offensive line putting him under pressure because they're worse than they used to be, or it can be the fact that he is no longer, or his physical tools start to diminish and the entire thing starts to disrupt itself. I would suggest that any of those things happening cause Matt Ryan to sharply decline in play level, and one of them may be a permanent thing that actually needs adjustment internally.
Well, something to keep an eye on. Matt Ryan's worst grade since 2009. They didn't run the table. Falcons are out.
This is true.
Thought they had a chance. They sucked me in. Mm-hmm. They sucked me in for 2 weeks. I was like, this is the Falcons team.
Rookie mistake.
And just to wrap up the Ryan thing again, I do kind of hate when people wrap quarterback performance, they just grab a bunch of stats and then create a narrative off of it. Well, the quarterback stats are down, therefore he must be worse. I think Matt Ryan he shouldn't be declining because of the playmakers he's throwing to. Or his stats shouldn't be declining. The offensive line is an issue, though. So you could still get a lot out of him if you've got the right pieces there. I'm just mostly concerned that he's still throwing to Julio and Calvin Ridley and Hooper in the backs. I mean, they should be more productive.
Yeah.
Offensively.
Yeah.
And that's the least of the Falcons' concerns, probably.
It's very difficult to completely isolate any one thing from everything else, right? It's all interlinked, and you have to have some appreciation for what's happening around the quarterback, not just the quarterback.
Yes, completely agree.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.